there, and welcome to my Fashion Stories Box podcast, a podcast about stories in fashion history. I'm Catherine, and I'm so glad to welcome you here. Let's discover together interesting facts about fashion and history and fashion history. I love a good book. Well, the more the better. When I was living in Moscow, I had books everywhere in my flat. The majority of them, unfortunately, I couldn't bring with me to Istanbul. And now I am living in Istanbul and having, again, books everywhere. I tried to switch to ebooks, but I so like paper, the smell of it, the touch of it, and the excitement to start a new book, to flip the pages, the sound it makes, that I couldn't. My happy place? Bookstores, of course. I could spend my life there, and as a visual person, I get attracted by books with beautiful covers. And this is what happened with Fashion Victims, The Dangers of Dress, Past and Present in our today's book review. I was scrolling inside my favorite bookstore / cafe restaurant in Istanbul in the fashion bookshelves when my eyes got caught by an illustration featuring a skeleton wearing a gown and a hat, dressed in the fashion of the 18th, 19th century. So I got closer and read the title, Fashion Victims, written in big and red, and the subtitle, The Dangers of Dress, Past and Present. Even more intriguing. Fashion victims, people who are so fond of fashion that they would do anything to be and remain fashionable, or people dying because of fashion. After flipping through the pages and the contents, I decided I wanted to discover it and learn more about it, and I bought the book. I then sat at one of the cafe's table, ordered a coffee, and started reading. The author of this book is Dr. Alison Matthews David. She is an historian of dress and textile, focusing on the 19th and early 20th century fashion, accessories, and material culture. Her work intersects with multiple areas, including medical history, criminology, and occupational health. She obtained a PhD in art history at the Stanford University and is currently the MA Fashion Program Director and Associate Professor at the Ryerson University in Toronto, Canada. From her profile on the university website, I learned that Fashion Victims were her first project and that she is currently working on a new one, Unraveling Crime, a Forensic History of Fashion, which investigates the theme of crime and clothing as weapon, evidence, and disguise from 1840 to 1940. And to be honest, I can't wait to be able to read it. Fashion Victims, The Dangers of Dress, Past and Present has been published in 2015 by the Bloomsbury Publishing House. The book is composed of 7 chapters exploring the deadly aspect of dresses from different points of view and periods. In 225 pages, bibliography and index included, you dive into the dark side of fashion. All chapters are illustrated with beautiful photos and illustrations. For me, it was like reading an historical documentary piece with the suspense of detective novels. The author explores the consequences of famous fashion items as the corset, the crinolines, or the platform shoes, and their consequences on the health of the wearer, but also of the manufacturer. Did you know, for example, that the men's high felt hat so in fashion during the 19th century was in fact poisonous, with high level of mercury going directly in the blood, leading to blood poisoning and death? Or did you know that the green color was a color Coco Chanel refused to use because of its composition, a mixture of copper and arsenic? This combination would give birth to a very vivid green, quite appreciated by the audience and used everywhere. From the fabrics used to sew dresses to the pigmentation of artificial flowers used as head ornaments or even on wallpapers, meaning that people would breathe this deadly cocktail everywhere. From toxic dyes and pigmentation to inflammable fabrics, the author explores this quest of being fashionable at all costs, in all periods, and its consequences on health. She also takes into account the point of view of the fashion workers and how they were also fashion victims in a sense, dying from producing fashion items which would at some point also kill the wearers. Even if all these experimentations came from a goodwill to create faster, easier, and more beautiful outfits thanks to technical and technological progress, they went to a cost and are still costing us, the wearers, the producers, the workers, and the environment. Just look at the carrying tag of your belongings. You might see a sign telling you not to come too close to a source of fire, as it could burst and you would burn alive in it. From the workers' point of view, the industrial revolution factories and their horrible working conditions, toxic materials, smoke, or no open windows with fresh air, risk of fire or to die eaten by a machine, didn't die. Just look at the modern sweatshops in Southeast Asian countries. And from an environmental point of view, the smoke and water pollution caused by dyeing processes in London or Paris in the 19th century have just been moved to poorer countries, but still exist. To conclude with, if, as me, you have the soul of a detective and want to discover more in details and with cold facts, meaning not with this passion that can bias our judgment, the origins of fashion's dark sides, then this book is totally for you. You don't need to be a fashion expert or nerd as me. Just tracing in history the origins of our current fashion practices may help us to improve them and create a more sustainable, environment-friendly fashion sector. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed this book review, learned new interesting things about fashion history, and are dying to read Fashion Victims, The Dangers of Dress, Past and Present, by Alison Matthews David, to discover many more details on how fashion can be deadly. And if you have any books to recommend me, drop me a line. Feel free to subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen your podcast, to follow me on Instagram and Facebook, and to have a look at my blog to complete the podcast with some visuals. And if you like my podcast, feel free to leave a comment or review. I will really appreciate it. I'm Catherine, and this is my Fashion Stories Box podcast, a podcast about stories in fashion history. See you next week for a new Fashion Stories Box.